Morning, everybody, or good night, good evening, whenever you might be watching this.
Red light camera.
Just want to talk about why do we feel empty, you know? And before we get started, it feels worse than usual to feel empty in this time and age because you have everything at your hand. You could get food easily, you could get shelter, anything, comfort at very ease. Of course, if you don't have the financial backing to support that, then it becomes difficult. But it's way easier than it's ever been, to have these basic necessities, especially in this part of the world, the United States. And here we go, United States as I speak. So the fact that we're at more comfort than ever and we still feel empty, what's the issue? And the issue is simply that we are chasing the wrong things. So it could start from anywhere from social media validation, chasing pleasure, constant distraction. By pleasures, I mean you're chasing a set amount of money. But once you get, you could buy certain things. And that's all you want. Chasing a significant other. That's not really your significant other. Rather, you're perceiving that in your mind. Or constant distraction. Distracted by social media, wrong friends, music, whatever it might be, right? And that's the main issue. The main issue that we all feel empty, majority of the people actually, is because we're chasing the wrong thing. And since we're chasing the wrong thing, what is the right thing? Like, what are you actually supposed to chase? Then a person thinks that, okay, if you're going to chase something, what does it have to be? And the answer is quite simple. It's something that has to be timeless, something that has to be benefiting in every circumstance. Not worldly circumstance, in every circumstance, right? And that, my friends, is simply chasing the pleasure of God. No matter what you are, who you are, chasing the pleasure of God is the only way, only key of not feeling empty, because that's the sole reason we were created on earth for, whether somebody likes it, whether somebody doesn't, and I always go back to the same example, is that if you go back 500 years and you tell someone that quantum physics exists, they're not going to believe it, but that doesn't change the fact that quantum physics exists. So whether someone believes that God exists or God doesn't exist, that doesn't change the fact that God exists or not, but rather it changes their perception of God, right? Hence, going back to the point, if you're going to chase the pleasure of God, you have to firmly believe in God as well, right? So if you don't believe in God, that's already an obstacle, unfortunately. Doesn't mean you're an evil person, no. But if you're not, and if you do believe in God, then good, you're a little ahead, but doesn't mean you're going to win. It's a constant striving on the path. So how does then, now you know the solution, that the key purpose is to please God. How does one, react to that? How does one deal with the idea of that? It's quite simple. Everything you do in your life, every little thing, whether it be driving, I could drive like an idiot right now. Even I am a little couple miles over the speed limit, but I could be in the left lane doing 2 miles an hour. I could. I have free will, right? Whether I be at the gym, whether I be, at my work, whether I be, doing anything, whether I be speaking to my parents, whether I be speaking to a stranger. How does one please God? The only way to please God is to make sure you put God in everything first. If I'm at the gym, I'm working out, someone asks me for a set, I don't just go crazy. Rather, I say, yo, my brother, I got you, I'm going to be done. If I'm outside, I don't look at a stranger and just frown and just make a grumpy face. Or, I just beat up an old person or run them over with a car. Whether I'm talking to my parents, if they say something out of line, or something, let's say I pretended to be slow. I'm like, bro, really? And that would just be me reacting in a positive manner. Now, of course, the point isn't that you're chasing perfection in this. The point is, if you put God, right, in everything first, whether it be whatever it might be, whatever, you will get ahead, and you would never ever feel empty, because your main purpose that you were even created on this world was to please God. You know, we weren't created to just eat, sleep, and repeat. You know, that's not the case. We were created for a certain purpose, which is to please God. And that's what we should do. So going back to the point, to wrap everything up, the only way to not feel empty is to focus and give your energy to something timeless, something consistent, you know. Hence, you won't feel empty. But before I end this, emptiness does not mean easiness. If you don't feel empty, it doesn't mean your life is going to be easy. You know, there's certain ways your life is designed, and just because you believe in God, you put everything first in God, doesn't mean your life will get easy, because that's not the point. The point is, we were created to worship God, and we will be tested on this earth. So just because someone believes in one God and their life is easy, as in, you know, they have more money, they have a nice car, they have a nice significant other that actually takes care of themselves, if they have, you know, enough money for Birkins, or versus someone that also believes in God, but his life, he's fighting a war somewhere. He's just trying to keep his kids alive, you know? So there's no correlation between believing and putting God first versus worldly ease, right? Because God gives to whoever he believes. You know, there's a lot of evil people in this world that have money. There's a lot of good people in this world that have money, you know? And by money, I mean like ability to eat, ability to do stuff, right? But that doesn't negate the fact that they're not putting God first, those evil people, you know? So before I wrap this up, the reason we feel empty, again, I said it probably twice before I wrap this up, but the reason we feel empty is because we're chasing the wrong thing, unfortunately. Now, the point isn't to be perfect, you know, constantly doing it. If you mess up, that's cool. The point is to get back to it ASAP, as fast as you can, right? And slowly go on from there.